Capricorn. Okay. It's a spicy one. Your planet is going retrograde. And Jupiter is in your sign, and it's going retrograde. And Venus is going retrograde. And somehow, work and love have meshed together too long and may do so again. The way you figure that out is going to say a lot about the trajectory of your career and also your love life. The Capricorns that I know personally, I have been telling them for about 6 months that they need to extricate their work and their love lives from each other. Or extricate their love life from their work, really. 1, because it makes you lose credibility. 2, and this goes with 1, gets a lot of people talking in the wrong way. And 3, it's not very good for work. Not good for money. 7 of Wands, Judgment, 2 of Cups, and the Lovers. Ah. Okay. So, 7 of Wands and Judgment. You feel like you have control over the work situation, and then all this talking starts. Capricorns hate to be talked about. So, it's an issue. And what are they talking about? 2 of Cups and Gemini. So, the relationship you either had recently with a Gemini and the Gemini is talking, or it's a relationship you had that's work related and Venus goes retrograde in Gemini and people start talking. Either way, we've got to take a look at your credibility now and your commitment to your career. Now, if you're thinking about changing careers, I guess it doesn't really matter, but it still kind of does. You have a lot to say about fairness, about justice, about where you fit in to everybody else's idea of you. You also have a lot to say to this Libra. The air sign's coming up very strong. But you and this Libra have gone back and forth for years, it seems like, with not much resolution. Let's keep going. Justice here is also about people judging you. Judgment, justice, Page of Wands, people talking, people judging. Don't give them anything more to talk about, is my advice. If you'd like to take your career on a different path, don't make those same mistakes of mixing romance with work when you get on that new path, because you will be tempted to do so. Now, if you don't have any sort of a romantic association with work, and whoever you were seeing in the past wasn't someone who was related somehow to your job, then make sure in May that you don't get into something with someone at work. If you have a partner that you were thinking about stepping out on, this is not the month to do it. I don't suppose there's any month really to do it. If there was a project that you were thinking of perhaps not giving your all to, which is not your nature, I know, but you're in a funny spot right now. 9 of Pentacles, 4 of Swords, Strength, and Ace of Swords. If you can't give it your all, don't do it. Don't compromise how capable you are. If you need rest, especially in terms of work, say it. By Leo season, there are some cuts that need to be made and some new ideas that want to come in. So now is the time to prep yourself properly. Now is the time to weed out that which you know if you let stick around for a few more months, you won't be able to get rid of. If there is a Leo in your life that has been treating you badly or that you just don't want to be with anymore, time to let them know. That may not go over very well, may get very messy. There's potential here for a lot of emotional mess, but also if you handle this in a very Capricorn manner, keep it, strictly business, you'll get out just fine. Now about those new business ventures, if you've got someone that really wants to collaborate with you and take your work in a new direction, go. It's good for you. It will only add to your satisfaction. If you've been feeling overworked and taken advantage of by your job, this may be the time to reinvent your role there. You don't necessarily have to leave. You have more control over the situation than you think you do. Don't mind my hair. It's been acting crazy since the Sag reading. Lots of electricity. Page of Swords, King of Swords, and the Sun. So again, that Leo energy by Leo season, someone that you perhaps had written off, an air sign, comes back into your life, or you bring them back into your life and perhaps make them way more important than you should. This term is very rife with pitfalls for you. It's very easy to make mistakes emotionally right now. And that's not really your bag. You're not usually like that. Usually you're a lot more measured. You think things out a lot more, but there is something about this particular work-related relationship that gets the better of you. Somehow this person or this thing that's going on at work that's somehow romantically linked, it has its hooks in you, and it's very difficult for you to not pursue it. You just keep wanting to pursue it. You keep wanting to make it work, even though it doesn't work. Even though everyone has told you it doesn't work. By the end of the month, you're frustrated. You want to go back to the things that do work. And you find a way back to yourself if you don't unnecessarily elevate someone who you know you don't even really want. Perhaps out of boredom, perhaps because you just want to win. We want to stay away from that, almost out of spite to do something. We want to just release all of that energy. That's not you, and you don't want it. You want something less controversial. Let's put it that way. And something more equal. Something that doesn't make you constantly question you. These retrogrades are a great time for you to get back into your highest self-esteem place. That safe space where you know exactly who you are, exactly what you're worth. Because, the events of the past 6 months have taken that from you to a large degree. But it doesn't have to be that way. May can be for you a building back up. You leave May into June feeling high on life, high self-esteem, loving the opportunities, loving the new vibes. And all you have to do to stay there and build on that is not fall into the same old traps. But can you do that? I don't know. Let's look at the cards and see. Love you. Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to the second part of your reading. So what are those same old traps? Well, I had a very interesting conversation with a good friend who is a Capricorn yesterday, and we got to talking about this here, the Nine of Pentacles and the Capricorn spirit. See, I think what happens with you guys is that you start off strong. You know, when a new relationship, when an old relationship that wants to come back in first comes around, it's all good. You're good. You're alluring. You're into your own business. You don't really care what's going on. You're not really checking for anybody. But as you invest in that person, something happens. Something changes. And I think it's intrinsic to the Capricorn nature that when you've invested in something, now there's an interest there, a vested interest there. Now the Capricorn spirit starts to make concessions, sacrifices. Now the Capricorn starts to give a little and then a lot and then too much. Now, this ties in with the concept of any stimuli that a person is exposed to. If you expose them to it enough, their mind starts to ignore it. Why? Not because they're bad people, not because they're not appreciative of what you're doing, but because the way the mind is set up, it moves certain things that are constants to another place in the mind. It becomes ambient. It becomes something that's taken for granted. It's just there and it will always be there. The Capricorn argument to this would be, well, what does that mean? I shouldn't give? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it means. It means that you don't give more than you should, regardless of how much you have invested in something. You don't put your investment in someone above your number one spot in your life. You must always remember that you have the most invested in you, no matter how much you've given that other person. You also have to remember that no matter how much you've given that person is not an asset. Unlike every other area of Capricorn's life where you may make an investment and you get a return, a human, an interpersonal relationship, and many times a job even, that's the T, will not reciprocate the investment you've made. So now you've invested too much in something or someone. You're not going to have a reciprocal effect going on there. They're not going to give it back to you. And in the process, you've also diminished yourself. So who's won here? It doesn't matter who's won, except that it's not you. Right? So let's start. 7 of Wands. You're starting off feeling good. You're feeling good because you're saying things how they are. You're saying things how they are because even though you might be involved, and even if you may be involved with a Gemini for that matter, you're still like, you know what? I have the upper hand here. Great. As the month progresses, things start to go retrograde. At one point, you have so much in Gemini around the 22nd that the entire wheel is kind of pulling that way, right? Venus goes retrograde, very important. When Venus goes retrograde, there is an air sign that is going to try to come back into your life. They're not physically going to be back into your life until about July, August. But for now, they're making their way into your periphery. They may have even reached out to you. And what do they want? Well, one, they want to be free of their bad karma and however they might have treated you. Right? There's a couple of Libras around as well. And what do they all have in common? The Gemini, the Libra, the Leo, the diminished Aquarius. What do they have in common? They're all magnetized to this version of you that is not investing in anything but themselves. If you are able to remain in this energy and continue to wield this sword without mercy, everything comes flowing to you. You are winning. Oh, and you keep on winning. More offers. So that's love. What about money? Again, we start off strong. Yeah, it's not the greatest, but it's not too terrible, is it? Over the course of the month, you will realize that using your voice, especially in a creative way, can bring in quite a lot of money. By mid-May, you've got it figured out and the money is starting to roll in, God willing. Then what you have to do is, instead of pushing any further, rest. Rest, work on what's been created and keep working on it, but don't try to put anything new on your plate. Just rest. And when are we resting until? Leo season. And in the interim, if you'd like to start another creative project that has to do with you basically just telling your story in some way, that's fine. That's fine. But not any more don't do any more projects that you want to immediately make money off of. Whatever you have set up by mid-May, cool. Work on it, do what you got to do, and rest. The only other new project you should be taking on after that is something that's highly creative and perhaps just for you to express yourself. Another way to look at this is you do your financial stuff, you get your money stuff in order, it starts to work really well, you've got some new ideas here in the pipeline, play with them privately. Figure out on your own what works and what doesn't. You know, don't expose too many people to it. I would say the same about this diminished air sign. Do it privately. Don't tell anybody anything because it's nothing yet. And if you keep investing in yourself and pay very little attention to whoever may be coming out of the fray, those people come closer and closer and closer to you because that is very magnetic. You're pulling them by making yourself most important. Let me say that again. You're attracting them, attracting love, attracting money, attracting even more success by investing in you. By not paying them any mind, by not putting them on a pedestal, by not making them too important, by not adhering to what you think they think you should be or a partner should be. Very important distinction, because you know exactly who you are until romance walks in, and Venus retrograde wants to show you and learn you that this is not the way to be. And if you learn this lesson now, Leo season will be quite glorious because this person will continue to step up. So will this person. Seems unlikely now, but yeah. And why is it unlikely now? Why does it seem unlikely now? Because right now, you're still, I mean, perhaps this conversation has changed things, but up until now, you have been more interested in protecting your investment than you have in protecting yourself. So I need you to start viewing yourself as your biggest and most important investment. What if you were your job? What if you were your career? What if your self-esteem was your job? How would you handle it? What would you do? Because the only Capricorns I know that don't fall into this hole and have complete control of their relationships and can, maneuver very easily in that space are people who never lose sight of number one. I can see how a lot of times you maybe have been criticized for that. And so you lose that a little, but most of it is just you. Most of it, you do it out of just this warped sense of protecting what you've put your time into. But no, doesn't matter what you're putting your time into. I mean, it does. But the thing we want to protect, the thing we want to exalt, the person we want to put on a pedestal is you. All right? Let's go through these one by one and figure out what's going on into June. The personal recorded readings that are sent to your inbox, that link is below. It's a Cameo link. The one-on-one video chat readings link is below. That's a Chatalize link. You've got to scroll down and see if there are any slots available. If there are not, I'll put some more up tonight. The Vimeo and the Instant are the same reading. One is sent to your inbox. The other, you have to log on to Vimeo. Both can be viewed over and over again. Okay, we're going to be doing an online Zoom. There's a new episode of the podcast, Revolution Ramblings. It is up. Once we have the Zoom satsang set up, I will be selling tickets for that, and those links will be on the website. Okay. Love you. I'll see you in the extended right now.